In this video, we'll look at turning this table, which although it contains lots of information, is not exactly user-friendly. We're going to turn it into a form that is a bit more accessible for your average user. So we're going to do that by going to create, and then sort of in the middle here is forms, and there's various ways to do a new form. We're going to use the form wizard. So the first thing you're going to choose is the table that it's based on, or a query, but there are no queries or other tables in this database. So the fields that we want to include are everything except all of these extra picture related fields. So I'm going to use the double arrow here to add all of the fields, and then I'm going to simply double click or use the single arrow here to get rid of those extra picture ones that are part of the attachment file type. So now we're going to click on next. There's several different layouts. The tabular and datasheet views, as you can kind of see from the preview, don't show one record at a time, which is what we kind of want out of a form. So we're not going to use those. We're going to use the columnar layout. Though you can also use justified. It's just slightly different to the columnar, and I'll show examples of that at the end. So we're going to click on next, and then we're going to call it, you can call it anything really, but I'm going to call it Herb's form, and I'm going to click on finish. And this is what it comes up with. Not very exciting looking, but you can see it's got the first item from the table, which was the garlic plant, and it's listed all the fields, and there's the picture as well. And if we use the navigation buttons at the bottom here, we can go through the different items in the database table. And we can also edit them from here, so maybe I need to tick these ones or change some of this text. I can do that, and it will save it as, if we kind of go back to it, it will have saved what I've done there. So this is a more user-friendly way to edit data or add data to a database. So if I click on the next arrow with the star, then it will give us a new blank record. You can add images from here as well by double clicking on the blank space. And what's important to know from this view is that we've got the labels on the left here. So this was the number field, and then here is the text box containing the actual data from the number field. Similarly, there's the picture label, and then the field, not a text box in this case, but an image box containing the image. Here's the label, botanical name, and then there's the actual data for that record. So these labels will stay the same on every record, but the data in the text boxes will be different. So now if we change this is form view. If we change to design view, you'll see the form looks something like this. There's a form header at the top, which is always right at the top of the screen. Form footer, which is currently hidden, but if we expand it, then it is always at the bottom of the screen. And then this is the detail section, which is what contains each record data. And we can make this a bit wider if we want to maybe lay out our labels and so on differently. And you can see here, as I mentioned earlier, there's the label and then the actual text box that contains, in this case, the name of a field. You can change the label data to say something else, so botanical name, maybe put a space in there, but we would leave this with a real name of a field. If we change it, for instance, if I put in a space here, then immediately we're going to get this little green flag indicating that there's no such field in the field list, because the name of the field has not got a space in it. So I'm going to fix that there, and now the error goes away. So if we took that, if I left it like that with the error, now it's going to give us hash name, because now it doesn't recognize that field as that error was indicating. So it is important to have real field names inside the text boxes. You can write anything you want inside the labels. And if you want to add or change or move these things around, you can simply drag and drop them by using the little cross arrow here, just drag and drop. If you want to move them separately, you'll notice they move together, the label and the text box. To move them separately, use this gray square, and then you can move them independently if that's what you want. And of course you can use this nice grid to line things up. Editing them otherwise is just like editing in something like Word, in that you've got your basic, if we go to format at the top here, you've got your basic fonts and colors of the fonts and so on and so forth. You can add a background color to the little box, and you can do the same with the text boxes as well, and make them look however you want. We've got shape outline as well. You might not want an outline on the little box, and you can play around with those settings quite easily. So as you play around, you can create different sections. You might want to maybe make all the boxes, the text boxes, the same length and that sort of thing, to make them look a bit neater. I think the default box size is based on the length of the field, so you might want to adjust these just so they look a bit neater, and so on and so forth. And you can add things under the design tab. You can add all sorts of things. So you can add your own labels and text boxes as well, and you can add buttons, and maybe you want a little box around a section like this. Then you can add a little square, which you can of course format and maybe make the line thickness a bit wider, change the color, etc., add a heading using a label, and so on and so forth. If you want to insert an image that's going to appear on every record regardless of the record, then you can actually use the insert image and search for an image. So if we choose this one, we can actually draw it in there, and then it would actually appear on every single page, even though it's not that particular plant. You can see we've got a bit of work to do in the layout here, but you get the idea. You can also select multiple ones just by clicking and dragging, and then you've got the arrange options, which might allow you to align things together so that they're on the grid, or that their left sides are lined up neatly, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot you can do just to make these things look a bit nicer. You can change the background and the row color and so on and so forth. We change the shape full by clicking on the detail, then it changes the background color. You can also right click and get these options as well. And we can turn off the grid, maybe get a better idea what it's going to look like, and so on and so forth. So you can play around and just get it looking how you want, and then you have a slightly more appealing form. And lastly, just to look at the different views that the form wizard creates. This one was the columnar one that we chose before. There was also the tabular form, which looks like this. The datasheet layout, which looks just like the datasheet view of the table. And then the justified form, which is also just showing one record per page, but in a very different layout. But you could format it to look more something more like this, maybe making the image bigger and so on. So those are different types of forms that you can create through the wizard, and just a quick overview for you.